We want to add the fractions. Remember, when you want to add fractions, you need a common denominator. To find that common denominator, we need to figure out what are the denominators made out of. In other words, we need to factor both of these denominators. So a quick review of factoring to begin with, starting with this denominator, 3x squared minus 7x plus 4. Okay, I'm drawing an x. I grab the numbers on the outside and multiply them together and put it at the top. So 3 times 4, we put that there, and that is 12. You take the number in the middle and bring it straight down, so that is -7. Next, you want to think of two numbers that when you multiply them, you get 12. So they'll either both be positive or both be negative. And they add up to -7. So now I know they have to both be negative. So two numbers that when they multiply get 12 and add up to -7, that's going to end up being -3 and -4. Then the next thing you want to do is put these two numbers over a. A is the number in front of x squared, so I'm going to put those both over 3. Finally, simplify the fraction, and -3 over 3, 3 fits into both of those, so that simplifies to be -1 over 1. This fraction is already simplified, so it's good to go. We have all the parts to factor, so it's bottom first, top second. So we're going to have 1x minus 1. So I have my 1x minus 1 multiplied by 3x minus 4, and this first denominator is factored. Okay, so going through that method one more time, we need to factor this denominator. So I'm going to take the numbers on the outside and multiply them together. 3 multiplied by 8 is 24. The number in the middle, straight down, so that's -10. We're trying to think of two numbers that when you multiply them, you get 24 and add up to -10. If numbers multiply to get a positive 24, they're either both positive or both negative. But if you're going to then take those numbers and add them up to get a -10, we now know those numbers must be negative. All right, so thinking of two numbers there, we're going to end up with -6 and -4. They multiply to get 24 and add up to -10. We put these numbers over a, so over 3. Then simplify the fractions. -6 over 3. 3 fits into both of those, so this becomes -2 over 1. This fraction is already simplified, so I'm going to leave that alone. So we've got everything we need to factor it. It'll be 1x minus 2 multiplied by 3x minus 4. Okay, so finally I have those denominators factored, which is the maybe the longest part there. So I'm going to rewrite my original problem, but just with the denominators factored. Okay, so from there, if we're going to force these denominators to be the same, this denominator here has an x minus 1 and this one doesn't, so this denominator needs an x minus 1. But whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And then this denominator has a x minus 2 and this one doesn't, so it needs an x minus 2. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. But now both denominators are going to be x minus 2 times 3x minus 4 times x minus 1. So when you have the common denominator here, we're going to put everything over the common denominator. And so we need this x minus 2 here. Duplicate. Okay, so there's that. And then when I multiply this numerator here, I have 2 times x minus 2. This numerator was 4 times x minus 1. And when you have a common denominator, you put them over the same denominator. Okay, then let's simplify that numerator just a little bit. distributing 2 times x is 2x, 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, 4 times x is 4x, 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. Now it's going to be over that common denominator. Simplifying a little more here, 2x's and 4x's make 6x, negative 4 and negative 4 make negative 8 over the common denominator. Okay. Now we're looking to factor the numerator because it might cancel with something in the denominator. So this 6x minus 8 has a 2 in common to both. So if there's a 2 in common to both, I can take a 2 out. 6 divided by 2 is 3, making that 3x. 8 divided by 2 is 4. We can redistribute to verify that 6x minus 8 over the same denominator. But we now see that something is going to cancel. The 3x minus 4 and this 3x minus 4 are going to cancel. So I'm going to go boom. This one's gone and that one's gone. So this is going to end up equaling. We have 2 still in the numerator. And then in the denominator, I have this x minus 1 and the x minus 2. And we have our final answer.